welcome to the CareStack and Deploy Dental webinar. My name is Jim Gerson. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for CareStack, and thank you for joining us today. We're going to get started here in a moment. I'm just trying to think if there's any other issues with video or audio, please use the Q&A button too as well, and we'll get someone on it as soon as we can. So I'm going to turn it over to our first presenter to kind of give a little bit of a background introduction. Steve Arnold, if you would take the floor, that'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good morning. I'm Steve. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Deploy Dental. I've been involved in sales, practice consulting, and the integration of dental materials, equipment, and technology for the better part of 20 years. When starting Deploy Dental, our mission was simple: to provide affordable, sustainable marketing campaigns that can scale practices not just with greater predictability, but as important, with increased efficiency and improved profits. And our co-founder and CTO, long-term friend of mine, Kazak, has helped us continue to deliver on that promise. He's a co-presenter. To give you a little background on Kyle, those that know him closely call him an internet savant. He literally was one of those kids that was exploring and building websites since early adolescence. He's been involved in search engine marketing since 2003 and dental-specific marketing since 2008. Kyle oversees all our pay-per-click Google advertising campaigns and is so respected by Google, in fact, that they often use his complex questions and statements for follow-ups as training and education opportunities for their account managers throughout the country. In fact, just last week, Kyle knows the Google software platform so well that he found a geography bug that affects literally thousands of advertisers, and in a section of the country, one of the boroughs in New York, Queens, millions of searches. And he's an expert on most things computer and technology related, and he's going to be an absolute resource for us today. Jim, obviously, is our moderator. He'll keep us on track. And Jim, can I throw it back to you?
Sure. Kyle, did you want to introduce yourself at all, or did Steve do a thorough job for you?
I couldn't have said it better.
Okay. Thank you. So as I mentioned in the introduction, Jim Gerson, VP of Sales and Marketing for CareStack. I've been in the dental space for over 19 years, and I'm thrilled to be the leader of our sales organization at CareStack. Kyle, if you could advance the slide, please. So we recognize, and the first thing is we're going to get into the heart of the presentation here in a moment. This is not going to be an infomercial for the next 50 minutes, but I realize that many of the people that are attending today's program don't really have a proper introduction to CareStack. And the reality is we're a nascent organization. We were founded in 2014 by a board-certified orthodontist and a technologist who were running 3-location, 70-chair group outside of Orlando, Florida, and we're really challenged by what was available in the landscape to run multi-location dental practices. So what you see in the bottom left-hand corner is our brick-and-mortar U.S. headquarters. So we're not 3 or 4 people working out of a garage. There's 230 people and growing worldwide in our organization. And these are some numbers that you see below in the right-hand corner. And what I think is really key and relevant for everyone in this webinar today to understand is CareStack is a 100% cloud-based system for the complete management, really for the multi-location or growing dental practice. And we typically work with 2 types of clients. The first is the practice that's growing, having success, wants to add additional offices or increase their footprint, and sees technology as a way to enable this growth and to really eliminate inefficiencies. And so you see all these widgets, that's what CareStack's about. The second type of client, they're ambitious, they're visionaries, but they're growing frustrated and aggravated by managing many different subscriptions to run the growing dental practice. You know, one for engaging with patients, another one for billing, another one for revenue cycle management. And it just provides agitation and leads to sleepless nights, taking away revenue from growing the business. So those are the 2 types of clients we work with. Here are some numbers on the bottom right-hand side about us. And we're really committed in this community to give back to the dental offices that are working with CareStack and provide education that's relevant and transferable across your business. So that's why we're delivering our program in today in conjunction with Deploy Dental. So I'm going to turn it back to the Deploy team and we can jump right into the content of the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Well, Deploy Dental is a full-service dental-specific marketing agency. We specialize in pay-per-click marketing with Google Ads, modern website design, search engine optimization, do a lot of graphic design, logos and branding, certainly directory listing management, reputation management, and more. We have over 60 years of combined dental-specific marketing experience, and our teams help practices create and implement custom tactics and strategies that are tailored really to practice short and long-term goals, and as important, to perform to individual markets and budgets. That's really where the rubber meets the road. And you can find out more about what we do at deploydental.com. And so now that we have the formalities out of the way, let's roll up our sleeves and get started. Let's move on first with an overview of what we're covering today for you. Today, obviously, is about you and not us. And in looking at the year ahead, many practices are setting both short and long-term goals. So with that in mind, throughout our presentation, it's a real opportunity for all of you in the audience to perform what we call a checkup from the neck up. Consider a few reasons why you might want to reevaluate your position in the market. Perhaps to market your practice strategically to achieve greater outcomes. Maybe you want to increase production in a certain area of your practice. Perhaps you're looking to expand by opening a new location or adding an associate. Maybe the competition in your backyard has increased and you're looking to stay ahead of the curve. We get asked frequently to share best practices around the country. Our goal today is to provide you with insider's knowledge behind the curtains and specific marketing tactics and strategies. So at the conclusion of the webinar, you can actually go back to the practice, to the business you own, and make better informed decisions about growing that practice. There's obviously no one-size-fits-all solution in internet marketing, but we recommend you consider the right custom solutions that are going to meet your overall evolving practice needs. Obviously, the world is changing, and so is your practice. A starting point to accomplish this, we feel, is through an understanding the basics of modern marketing, along with the guiding principles behind those tools. So as you're looking at our agenda slide, we'll discuss some of these, which include an overview, and that's providing a path for your practice to appear on the first page of prospective patient searches for dental services you target. Also, why and how Google Ads can offer a practice significant return on those dollars you invest. When it comes to practice differentiators, we're going to cover competitive advantages, distinctive competencies, basically what makes your practice stand out within your dental community. In terms of pricing, we'll provide methodology, tactics, and strategies around pricing within Google advertising. In looking at targeting, that's important. We're going to help you filter and decide on your true target markets. In longevity, we're going to look at long-term strategies, and it's for ongoing measurement and improvement, because we know that in life and in business, we improve what we measure. In terms of expansion, it's important to look at approaches and tactics for scaling, specifically your Google ad campaigns, and then making treatment accessible. It's really about beginning with the end in mind. Kyle has a great list of takeaways and best practices to increase the accessibility for your current and also prospective patients. And lastly, let's look at a life cycle of an internet lead. And that'll involve an overview of patient engagement in this era of digital marketing that we're in, from cradle to grave, from internet search to treatment and beyond. With that in mind, I'll hand it off to Kyle, who will get us started by providing an overview of Google Ads. Kyle?
Hey, thank you, Steve. So to start everything off, I'm going to give you guys an overview of what a search engine results page looks like. For those of you that don't know, Google Ads is a way to appear at the top of Google search results to gain instant exposure for your practice. And we have a graphic example for you so you can see exactly what we're talking about. This is known as a search engine results page, or for short, a SERP. You'll see the paid ads denoted here in the green at the top of the search result page. They also will show paid ads at the very bottom of this same page. There is a map component to it. You can refer to it as Google Maps, Google My Business. It used to be called Google Local, but it's going to show right below the ads, and those have generally 3 businesses listed in them that are proximity to where the searcher is making the search from. Below the Maps listings are what are called the Google organic listings, or where the general websites on the internet rank for those different terms. Within Google Ads, there are 2 main types of advertisements. There are search ads and display ads. Search ads are the ones you actually see in the search result above and below the Maps and organic. And then display ads, those are the graphic or small video ads you see on third-party websites like the New York Times or CNN. Those are all going to be graphic-based. They're not necessarily textual ads. I'm going to dive briefly into the display factors. So what factors into an advertisement that is shown on Google's search results page? There are two main components, quality score and the bid price. And a micro auction takes place every time you make a search. And depending where you show there, that is a product of your quality score, a numerical value from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, assigned to each keyword you're advertising based on how relevant it is to the ad. There is also the bid price. Product of those two is an ad rank. Google places these ads on the search result page in ad rank order. There are multiple factors that go into the cost of a Google advertisement, such as the competition in the market, how many searches are there. One can expect a location with a high amount of searches and low competition. You're going to have a cheaper click compared to a market with a finite number of searches and high competition. They will change throughout the lifetime of your ads, depending on who is coming onto the search engine, who's leaving. There's also specific targeting considerations like geography, demographics. You're able to actually run these advertisements, show them or exclude them from people based on age, sex, household income. You also have the ability to schedule them as well. So if you wanted to place the ads only during a certain time of day, you're able to do that. And one of the last features of the targeting considerations are bid adjustments. What that means is once you've identified a set of criteria that you would like to show your ad for sure more often, you can set a bid adjustment. And what that means is if you had a 25% bid adjustment and the keyword itself costs $10, your new keyword bid would be $12.50. You also have the option where to send this traffic. When someone clicks one of these advertisements on the search engine results page, the visitor or the clicker is sent to a location. A lot of advertisers send these clicks directly to the homepage of their website. Here at Deploy, and what we highly recommend is that these clicks be sent to targeted landing pages specific about the item the person is clicking. So if they are searching for dental implants in Orlando, you want to send the user to a landing page that talks specifically about dental implants in Orlando. This way you're able to track the phone calls, record them, and isolate the traffic sent from the ads to a single place and not have it intermixed with regular visitors to your website.
Hey, Kyle,
Go ahead.
can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
We have just a question from the audience here, and I don't know, you tell me if you want to address it now or to park it to later, but what about advertising on social media someone's posing? Are they the same thing, and do you recommend it? What are your thoughts on that?
Thanks, Jim. That's a great question, actually. The short answer is I would say no. We typically don't recommend it, and the reasoning is very, very straightforward. Although it may be a good idea to reinforce branding and name recognition, the people who see your ads have not shown any intent to visit a dentist. You're simply advertising to a targeted set of demographics. Compare that to, say, a Google search where someone is actively searching for a dental specific keyword. That is proof that they're interested in your specific service right at that point. We just found the latter to be much more efficient way of advertising for a dental office. I'm not saying social ads won't work, but I'm definitely saying the user is further along the buying cycle when they're showing intent in what they're looking for. So in just a quick example, on Google, you can place an ad for someone searching a Invisalign in Brooklyn, New York. On Facebook, you need to serve that advertisement to a audience, say men and women aged 34 to 55 who are within a certain proximity, and then hope that demographic ends up needing what you're trying to serve them. So that's a great question.
All right, we'll let you continue because I know we have a lot to get through here. Go for it.
Sure. So the next slide here is going to be about practice differentiators. There are many ways to differentiate your practice. But in general, they fall into three main categories: price, quality, and service. It's not reasonable to dominate all of these areas. So you should reflect on which two of these areas you have the advantage over the competition. For instance, price might include treatment costs, access to financing, insurance options, in-network providers, in-house membership plans, short-term financing, and etc. Quality factors could be showcasing before and after photos of actual treatment outcomes on the website, patient sentiment regarding those treatment outcomes. Are the facilities that you are practicing in new or worn? Different software and technology the practice is using as well. All of those will factor into different quality metrics in the patient's eye, as well as how that translates online in actual reviews being left. As you'll know, when someone leaves a review, they're going to mention price, quality, and service in the review. Service would be referring to things like having a welcoming attitude, ensuring informed consent for different treatments, the sentiment people leave after receiving treatment.
Sure.
Did they feel rushed at their appointment? Streamlined information, accessibility on the website, possibly adding in patient education to make them more informed, or a place that they can be doctor can reference patient to if they have questions. But basically, no one can be the best at all three. That's why there is a white void in the middle of this diagram. And an ideal position is to be somewhere inside of this triangle. No one can basically be the best at all three, because if you have high service, high quality, generally that goes along with a elevated price. And you can kind of see that shift around depending each practice per day.
Another question, just to interject here, sorry, from an audience member. They have a practice in a large market, a large, well-defined city. And their question is, how can I differentiate if I'm in a large market, like a Houston or Chicago, something of that nature?
It's a great question. There's really no single answer or one size fit all, but in general, you want to play to your strengths. Determine where you stand in the market and where your competitive advantage are, whether they be pricing, services offered, days and hours of treatment available. Realize that with a limited budget, you may not be able to break into the first page for the most competitive terms. But within a large market, there's always a segment or niche where progress can be made. The larger the market, the more searches occur. And that's going to leave low-hanging fruit, whether it be something like wisdom teeth extractions. Dentures are often overlooked, in all honesty. So basically, that's a great question, but it's going to be real specific to the practice. And knowing the larger the market, the more volume of searches, the more ability to break in somewhere within there. And so kind of with that covered, we're going to move on to how pricing options are going to affect your offer and results. So when it comes to pricing methodologies, there are many different considerations when choosing a price to show on Google. They each have advantages and disadvantages. For instance, an upfront price will eliminate a price shopper from clicking your ad. An example of that would be placing something like Invisalign, only $5,000. A monthly price, you can take that same $5,000 of Invisalign, run it through a financing calculator, and breaking down that service cost into the minimum monthly payment someone can do to enter into that service. So for instance, that could be something like Invisalign starting at $127 a month for 60 months. It's still a $5,000 price. You didn't have to discount it. And that's just taking that same price and wrapping it in a monthly component. There's also the ability not to show a price whatsoever. If the practice does not want to display a price for their services, the practice also must be prepared for price-related questions coming through their advertisements. Explaining the need for a consultation before a quote, things like that, where it's hard to eliminate price shoppers when you're not showing a price at all. There's deals and discounts. When you buy, say, a service in a bundled package, for instance, 6 veneers for the price of 4, free teeth whitening following an Invisalign treatment. There's also a segment called exclusivity. So not many practices offering service that's being advertised. Practice. Example would be, excuse me, a practice opens Saturdays and Sundays or on holidays. Technically speaking, you don't need to run an offer when you're the only person in town able to provide that treatment, or one of a very select few.
And Kyle, we're having a couple issues with your audio. Can you just bring your microphone a little bit closer to your mouth, your headset?
Sure. Is this any better?
I think so, yes.
There's also freebies, a free consultation or second opinion. Those types of offers, freebies, they actually work really well by themselves or in conjunction with the other offers. There's, as you can see here, also considerations. There's ways of placing the price. And then there's also considerations like we had explained, the deals, service exclusivity, and freebies. I'm going to segment over into how to basically target the ideal new patient. The type of campaign you select will have a significant impact on the type of patients you receive, as well as the overall number of patients. There are really three main types of Google search campaigns that we're going to talk about today: broad, targeted, and branded. Broad campaign is going to be something like patients don't exactly know what they're looking for. An example of this would be dentist in Seattle, Washington. A targeted campaign is when the patient is searching for something very specific, like a root canal in Seattle, Washington, where they're showing intent related to a specific service. A branded campaign is when a patient is searching for your practice, goodwill, or brand name specifically, something like Seattle Dental Care. You're going to want to tailor your offer to your practice's needs and wants, getting more patients versus a higher return per patient. Basically, the best campaigns, excuse me, are going to have a mix of all these. A branded search is great for when a practice has large brand recognition and needs to ensure that their competition is not going to run ads under their name. A targeted campaign generally provides a higher return per patient because you're selling a specific or promoting a specific offering. And a broad campaign is what we more often than not consider a new patient special or something generic that allows you to announce that you provide these services in this location, and maybe a little enticement as far as a way for them to come in, remove that barrier to entry. But overall, you're going to want to choose campaign types that fit your practice's specific needs and goals. One of the other most important takeaways from this presentation is not to get discouraged by lack of results, especially early on in your advertising campaign. The most effective strategy is to experiment with your offer with phases of testing and regrowth until you have proven results. You're going to want to try again. Many factors that can affect the performance are things like competition, price, historic account performance, the times a day you're running the ad, how relevant the keyword is to where you're sending the visitor, as well as the actual performance of the practice once the phone call or email lead is sent into them. You're going to want to meet with your marketing company or agency to review this performance and results, provide feedback, determine next steps. A great takeaway from this would be don't stress out about small deviances in the market. You want to push through and persevere with your advertisements. A great word here would be Kaizen. Some of you might have heard of it, but it's a Japanese business philosophy of continuous improvement, of working practices, personal efficiency, etc. Basically, continuous improvement. That's things like for advertising copy. If an offer's not running, you can pause that and come up with a new offer for a completely different service. Address any and all inefficiencies within the practice, such as, say, phone calls not being answered. And it's very important to meet with the marketing company to go over this performance to make informed decisions of the next steps. And in essence, you go where the data and return on investment takes you.
Kyle, I think we're losing a little bit of your audio when you're making hand movements.
No problem. I'll keep that to a minimum here.
Great stuff. There's a question here about longevity.
Sure.
So what's a criteria that you use or you think is popular to use to evaluate the effectiveness of a campaign?
That's another great question. In short, we look at a select few metrics to evaluate the overall performance, the total number of leads, whether they be phone calls, emails, form submissions, text messages. You compare the total number of leads to your total budget that it was spent, and you come up with a cost per lead or cost per call figure. Using that as a baseline, you're able to kind of map performance month over month to determine whether or not you're achieving those metrics. And the goal is obviously to lower that down to as far as it can go. It allows you to calculate that cost per lead to a penny.
Great, thank you.
So we're going to move on to horizontal versus vertical expansion. This is not an official Google vocabulary term. It's an analogy we here at Deploy use to help our clients visualize their possible opportunities for campaign development. Horizontal expansion, vertical expansion. Vertical expansion is when you are able to increase your campaign's budget and you're not limited by the number of searches in the market. So for instance, if you are running an offer, the offer's working, and you have the ability to add more budget to that specific offer, that is vertical expansion. Horizontal expansion is adding additional services or offers into your campaign in markets that are limited by total number of searches, small to mid markets. In order to capture a larger percentage of those searchers, you can't just spend more money. You have to spend it over multiple offers. Basically, a efficient campaign is going to leverage a little of each. As you add additional services horizontally, you are going to have to increase your budget. And once you've tested a handful of these services in the market, you may want to pause some of them and add a vertical expansion to one of those areas specifically. The larger the market, the more ability you have to amplify and replicate what you're doing. So doubling your budget should immediately double your results in a vertical expansion example. And horizontally, you're going to want to consult with the marketing company to add additional layers or offers or treatments that are being advertised. That's basically the comparison between vertical and horizontal expansion.
Got it. Okay, so we're going to move on to making treatment accessible. What's the next?
Absolutely. Yeah, so making treatment accessible within whatever specific segment or services you're advertising, it's essential that you cast a wide net in terms of making your treatment accessible, making it as accessible as possible. You want to have as few barriers to entry from a patient's perspective, and this could include a large pool of insurances accepted, whether it's PPO, HMO, state or federal assistance plans, in-network providers. Obviously, the more in-network insurance providers you accept, the larger the accessibility is from a patient standpoint. Financing offered, things like Care Credit, Clear Gauge, in-house membership plans, those are becoming more popular. Every day I hear about more practices offering some sort of in-house membership plan. Accepting the 4 major credit cards. I know a lot of dentists have American Expresses, but at the same time, a lot of dentists and dental practices don't accept American Expresses. Any little barrier you can remove to making treatment more accessible is very important from a patient's perspective and from a acquisition standpoint. At the same time, treatment accessibility is not just about money, cost, payment. It encompasses all aspects of your day-to-day routine, such as how many days per week is the practice open? Do you have early and late hours? what is the proximity to public or mass transportation like subways or ferries or large freeway interchanges? The ease of communication, such as answering phones, accepting and emails and replying timely, possibly accepting and replying to text messages. The onboarding of new patients can be simplified and made more accessible through online new patient forms, so they don't have to print something out, fill it out, and do the practice.
Hey, Kyle, can we interrupt you for a second? I'll maybe Stephen, I can interject while you can tweak your audio a little bit. Maybe not use the headset and just use your computer. Steve, do you want to add some color commentary here? Because I just want to give Kyle a moment to fix his audio.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so in terms of making treatment accessible, Kyle hit the mark that when it comes to merchant processing, patient financing, what you're doing around the clock, and even getting simple Uber or Lyft involved. Also, obviously, it's making sure that you're communicating everything that you do. It's super frustrating, obviously, for anyone to receive a patient and notice that they've had veneers or even something as simple as whitening done elsewhere. And so it's making sure that internal and with your marketing agency externally advocating what you do throughout. And Kyle, how's your audio?
Yeah, is this any better?
Yeah, it is. We'll give you so we just have a question, and I guess from the audience member who's asking about the most common mistakes you see, just, not getting into too specifics, but maybe you can give an anecdote or two across your time of working with practices.
Believe it or not, the most common is simply answering the phone. We're kind of shocked the percentage of calls that are not fielded during business hours across the country, not specific to any geography. Practice might get busy helping other patients, but it's very crucial to take a moment to answer the call, even if it's just to place them on hold. Most people will wait on the line to be helped, but they may never leave a message or call back if that phone is not answered.
Interesting. Okay.
It's a great question.
So let's go ahead and move forward into the life cycle of an internet lead, if that's all right.
Sure. Well, absolutely. So we're going to talk about the life cycle of an internet lead, understanding how it begins. When someone makes a dental-related internet search, it falls into one of two categories, a discovery or recovery search. In this case, a discovery search is someone who does not know about you. The format those discovery searches appear in is the service name with a location modifier. I'll give you just two quick examples, real life examples. Sannerfeld Dentist is a broad discovery search. Invisalign Sannerfeld is a targeted discovery search. A recovery search is the searcher already knows about you. The format is either the practice's name or a doctor's name. And some real life examples of that are going to be Marin Dental Care as the company or Stephen Chase DDS as the person. It's very straightforward. Generally speaking, Google Ads targets discovery searches, people who don't know about you yet. Recovery searches are building off your goodwill, brand name recognition. And unless you're running a branding campaign, there's not really a need to place advertisements under that type of search. This is one of my favorite slides. It's a diagram of the full buying cycle, starting with the step we already described, called a discovery or discovery search. When someone makes a search on Google, that is going to be targeting a discovery search in this example. Google Ads augments this cycle by increasing your exposure and controlling the message along the way. There's 7 steps to this cycle from start to finish. The first one is describing the problem. That would be the patient making that internet search about something they're looking for. Your advertisement should introduce the solution. Your landing page or website should provide detailed information about that solution. The landing page should also include proof points, whether those are before and after photos or snippets of Google Yelp reviews placed directly on that landing page so the visitor does not have to leave to find out those proof points. A clear and defined call to action. More often than not, it is a phone call. Call us today to receive Invisalign or dental implants at a certain price. Whatever the service might be, the call to action is generally how you receive the lead, whether it's an email, phone call, text message. That then call to action generates the actual action, like we had briefly described prior, as a phone call or email to the practice. And the final step is going to be the actual purchase of the treatment. Obviously, there's going to be an appointment scheduled, but from a internet life cycle, it would include the phone call to the treatment purchase. That will repeat itself for every person who clicks the ad to go through the same life cycle. That's pretty straightforward, but it's as simple as it gets, being illustrated here in these 7 steps.
So with a call to action, sorry, you mind going back there for 1 second, because we have an audience member who wanted to ask about this.
Sure.
What's your philosophy or attitude about having one or more than one call to action? Something I just wanted you to kind of expand on.
I would say the practices that are on top of everything, where they reply to emails in a few minutes, they use some sort of texting platform to communicate, I think that's perfectly fine. It gets a little risky if the practice has a longer response time when using things like email or text. Generally speaking, if someone's texting you, you're going to expect a reply back in 10 minutes, give or take. If you're receiving an email, if it's a time-sensitive issue like an emergency, I would expect the response needs to be sooner than if it is something like a request for an appointment 2 weeks out. Us personally, we like to funnel most, if not all, of the call to actions through phone calls because we can track and record them. And they also provide a nice benchmark, which is the average call duration. We also would track emails and text messages when given the opportunity. That's a great question, though. So I have no problem with multiple call to actions if they're being handled in a timely manner.
Got it.
And then we're going to go through the life cycle of an internet lead specific to feedback and reviews. So after the buying cycle is complete, the internet lead, and actually this includes all patients, not just one from the internet, should enter the next important phase, the feedback and review loop. This is crucial to increase your reputation, make your practice more attractive to potential patients of all kinds, including those viewing your Google ads. So the first step is after the patient checks out of their appointment, they receive some sort of text message, email reminder, or prompt asking them to leave a review. So then a text is sent to the patient's mobile phone. This is usually time delayed, probably about 2 hours after their appointment. The practice will receive a review from the patient. And next step is to acknowledge that review, whether positive or negative. For instance, for positive reviews, just thank them, tell them how much you appreciate it. On a negative review, apologize for the experience, address the issue directly, give a truthful account, and explain how hard you work to ensure these things don't happen. Possibly provide a way for that patient to get in touch with you, so you might be able to remedy it. And sometimes the patient will even take those negative reviews down. Most importantly, take the negative review as constructive criticism and make the appropriate changes when needed. The last thing you want to do is get into an argument with someone through a Google review response.
So someone just posted, why not just ignore these negative reviews? And I'm sure that's got to have some impact to the reputation portion.
That's a great question. I suppose you can do that. It would also have some factors that depend on how many reviews the practice has. If you only have 4 reviews and one's a negative, not only is that dropping down your aggregate rating, but it's also going to be 25% chance someone looking at your reviews sees that negative. I suppose the more reviews you have, the dilution effect could be at play here, where it may not be as important. But since Google does show reviews based on time, so most recent reviews being left, sometimes patients will view a response to a review and give them a little sense of relief knowing that if something happens, the practice is willing to take control of that and address it.
Okay. Steve, anything you want to expand on this? I know this is an important topic for you guys, the reputation management portion.
Yeah, no, I would echo what Kyle said, but it's a real opportunity to differentiate yourself. The reality is there's not a business open in and outside of the United States that doesn't at some point miscommunicate or have an issue. Also, if you talk to dental-specific lawyers, they'll tell you that the clearest way to avoid any issue, litigation, or the like is to simply address concerns as they come up, ask questions, be proactive, and even before a review is left, at the end of any patient visit, make sure that you're engaging them. How did things go today? You know, as you're with the patient, learning about what matters most to them and least to them, what their preferences are. And it's not just avoiding negative reviews, but the intent should be to earn business and referral. So that's what I would add to that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. And then the last component I'm going to be touching on is the life cycle of an internet lead related to appointment retention and reminders. This process helps you get reoccurring benefits from your Google Ads campaign and hopefully make a lifelong patient. They're going to decrease no-shows. There are also additional touch points that will increase your overall conversions, especially if there's a back and forth allowed where the practice can respond to someone approving the appointment or canceling it. It also will create a tech-savvy practice that's really geared towards millennials and Generation Z. The patient receiving these text messages letting them know that their appointment's coming up, there's no question that that is going to improve the conversion of the patient actually coming in. If they do cancel, at least you're finding out about that before someone is not showing up in a lot of instances. That's a pretty straightforward piece of this overall pie. It's one of the oldest forms of kind of web and internet modern technology. The companies and this process has been around for at least 12 plus years. So it's something that is almost as standard as a appointment reminder card was 15 plus years ago. It's almost expected by the patient at this point. So I'm going to pass this over to Steve to kind of discuss Deploy Dental offering and to request additional information.
Thank you, Kyle. Then we'll come back for everyone here. We have some time allocated to go over some more questions. So I'll make sure to address those here in a couple moments.
Well, thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Jim. It's just been a pleasure and a privilege to spend a little time with all of you today. Before, as Jim had mentioned, we open up to additional questions. CareStack and Deploy wanted to, at the very least, reward you for the time you've invested. So on the Deploy side, for those of you to see the value in a Google Ads campaign or perhaps are considering an update and upgrade to your website to modernize that platform, we have a special offer for all of today's attendees.
Yeah, if you could do me a favor, Kyle, scoot over the CareStack. I don't want to lose people here. If you want the ability to learn more about CareStack and take advantage of a promotion from this webinar, you can click here. Keep going, Kyle, because one of the things I want to show here is our upcoming programs before we lose people and it becomes too commercial. So next month, we're going to have a program. So we're going to be doing these webinars monthly. That's kind of the cadence. And this is our upcoming webinar, a save the date for that. This is going to be about making dentistry more accessible to patients in your practice, specifically those patients that don't typically qualify for conventional type of financing. And so we really want to call this making practice, increasing your collections, but making dentistry more accessible. So this is going to be a webinar. It's on February 12th, noon to 1 p.m. And we'll be posting this on our different social media handles, as well as doing an email campaign. And then we also have an in-person event. And if you want to just advance here, Kyle, we have an upcoming seminar in the Dallas area designed for, and these are both complimentary, by the way. If you have a growth orientation or a mindset to go from one location to multiple locations or from 3 to 5, this is in conjunction with Black Ops Management and is going to be in the Dallas market at the end of February. So we'll have both of these posted on our LinkedIn handle if people want to find more information about these events. I do want to go back to a couple of questions here, and then as we lose people, I want to make sure that we open up the Q&A.
Sure.
So one of the questions I have here for the audience, and again, please, if you want to post your questions, this is the time to do it. Is against this concept, going back to longevity. Maybe you can go back to that slide, Kyle.
Sure.
You talked about these concepts of growth and a kind of a retest.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a question about that before. What is a fair time frame for the growth and retest phase?
So I would say that for the first portion of the question, there's really no one answer. However, as an advertiser or a company managing these ads, you should definitely have a good amount of data after the first 30 days to make adjustments. Then after several months of improving, maintaining, and retesting these positive results, you should again to start growing and retesting probably within the first 3 to 6 months. I would say you should be able to find something to work within the first 90 days, 180 at the long end. You're going to want to expand the campaign, obviously, if you're not having that success with the initial run through. And it's about, I would say, is a fair estimate would be about 6 months.
Are you cut out there at the end? 6 months? Is that what you said?
Yes, 6 months at the high end. It shouldn't take more than about 6 months to get the right footing in the market, maybe changing different geographies, changing different offers. All of this would happen where you would start to notice a positive impact for sure within the first 6 months at a minimum.
Okay.
And Jim, would you mind if I add to that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I can't emphasize this enough. Communication is key. One of the things we coach our clients when it comes to improving your marketing and your return on investment of any dollars that you invest is simply to understand what your gaps are in and outside of the practice. Inside the practice, often it's following up on the communications that your marketing agency are providing. It's going through. We do call tracking. And so it's an opportunity for us to, along with the practice, listen to the calls. Are they being answered? How are they conveying value for the practice and the practitioner? Are they listening to the patient? What are they doing with the information afterwards? And so we spend a lot of time and investment on our side to make sure that we give them the right data and tracking. It's really up to each practice to make sure they're integrating that. There's a great quote that says, "Show me your checkbook and show me your calendar, and I'll show you what you value." Unless you actually have throughout the week time dedicated to this follow-up and evaluating your business, it's not just working in your business every day, it's working on your business, and you've got to calendar those opportunities.
Thank you for speaking to that. I think we have one or two more questions here. If we can go back to, I just want to make sure I phrase this properly. I guess there was a slide on targeting the new patient, the ideal new patients. Someone had posed the question of allocating budget between different types of campaign types. There you go, broad, targeted, and branded. Is there kind of an ideal formula that you advocate to practice?
Yeah, I would say there's no specific formula, but since branding campaigns are without a doubt going to be the cheapest keywords to advertise under, and most of those searches represent current patients, we'd recommend not adding any more than 30%. In a lot of cases, 10% of your overall marketing budget or less for those types of keywords. I suppose if you were a company like ClearChoice, where they are a nationwide marketing blitz, they probably allocate a higher percentage than an average dental practice. So a nationwide company is going to have a higher number. But for the average dental practice, I would say probably in the 10 to 15% on the high end. For the other two types of ads, broad and targeted, it really depends on the level of competition in your market and the practice's goals. Deciding on whether you want more patients versus a higher return per patient, finding a balance between them. I would say our most successful clients definitely have a mix of broad and targeted. They might be running ads under emergencies, running ads under things like dental implants, but they're also running a broad ad for a new patient special. So they're bringing in the volume as well as the return per patient.
Great. We have another audience generated question here. I have a new practice. How should I use Google AdWords to position myself in entering the market, or in existing in the market?
I would want to qualify that by seeing is whether or not they're starting from scratch or they have an existing patient base just in a new or different location.
They said scratch.
So from complete scratch, it's going to be important to get new patients. So having a introductory offer like a $99 exam, cleaning, and x-ray is going to generate business. At the same time, to make sure that you're not ignoring return per patient, I would also suggest running a campaign.
Kyle, your audio is an issue. Please move closer to the computer. I think it's the distance from the Bluetooth.
Yes, and basically running a targeted campaign for what the practice is really trying to acquire. So some practices that might be Invisalign, some it might be dental implants, wisdom teeth extractions, ensuring that you have a campaign out there for higher return per patient, and then not ignoring the campaign that's going to bring in what I would consider the average patient looking for a cleaning, not have been to a dentist in a couple of years. Those campaigns will generate return because it's not that every patient only comes in and gets cleaning. They may have lots of things wrong, and a percentage of them will take the practice up on their treatment plan.
Thank you. The last question I have so far, unless other people want to pose them, going back to the pricing methodology, do you recommend matching the average advertised prices of your competition? So I guess that's if someone's advertising their practice, and I want to make sure I understand that properly. Does that make sense, Kyle?
It actually does. I think it's kind of like a price wars type question where if you're starting it at 99 and you see your competition drop it to 89 or 79, should you start matching those types of prices? The simple answer is no. If you try to beat the price of your competition, inevitably you're going to end up in a price war. And you will both continually be walking down the stairs until you hit a basement or a bottom. You go, like I said, from 99 to 89, 79, all the way down. There will be the ability, I would recommend, to keep the ad constant, where those types of, I would almost refer to that as gimmicks. And gimmicks generally don't pan out for the long run on a campaign. So keeping 99, it's not that patient is not going to choose you over someone else. Practices have different reviews, there are different proximities to people's work and homes. You will still get patients not having to continually cutting the price of something that's already a low price introductory offer. I would say that is the case, but there's also the example where if you see practices running very deceptive ads like $995 dental implants, you can also use that to your advantage by writing ads that say, you get what you pay for, be careful of dental implant gimmicks, free consultation, where you may not need to run a price at all when someone's using a gimmick like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's an important takeaway. Can you bring up the last slide, which is just our contact information? I want to be, respectful of everyone's time. If you want to take a picture with your phone, we'll also provide a recording of this to everyone who's registered for the program. But this is the email and contact information of all three of us. I want to personally thank Steve Arnold and Kyle Kazak for being so generous and really hopefully leaving everyone here with a couple of pearls that you can go back and implement into your digital marketing strategy today, tomorrow, and the next day. And just as a reminder, Kyle, if you wouldn't mind going back to the upcoming events real quick, the next event that CareStack has, one more slide, is a webinar, again, on trends and best practices to increase your patient collections. And this is going to be scheduled for February 12th, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to host Julie Jenkins and Priscilla Pennington from ClearGauge. So you'll see some information on that. And then lastly, if you want information on our Dallas program, if you're in that market, in conjunction with Black Ops Management, we're putting on this evening seminar with dinner included, and there's no charge for this. Please reach out to us, reply back to any of the emails that you've received from me, and we can get this information to you. So on behalf of CareStack, thank you to all of you for attending. Thank you to the Deploy Dental team, and have a productive remainder of your day. Thanks very much, everyone.
Hey, thanks for everyone's time. Thank you, Jim.
All the best. Have a good one.
All right.